Welcome. And in Ukrainian, Vitayu. Welcome to this Earth Day celebration. I'm Reverend Kathleen Hepler, leading worship with my colleagues this morning for the final time as the Sabbatical Minister here at First Parish in Lexington. Reverend Ann Mason returns on May 1st. Gather in all who are present through whatever door you have come. Let us center ourselves by listening to Rip Jackson play his composition written for this congregation in 2015, New England Marshlands.
Good morning, and thank you, Rip. I am Ben Soule, one of the worship associates here at First Parish in Lexington. It's wonderful to see you here in the sanctuary this morning, and we also welcome those who are online. I have two quick announcements this morning. Have you ever wondered about your real identity and the real purpose of your life? Wow. Learn the secrets of the Bhagavad Gita and how to apply this ancient wisdom to your personal and professional life. Sign up for a series of 4 Tuesday evening classes starting this week. See Friday's sneak peek email for details. Also this Tuesday, because you don't have enough to do, you can join the Minister of Music Task Force for a focus group to discuss the opportunity for the congregation to call Rip Jackson as the Minister of Music. The meeting will be at 7 o'clock on Zoom only. You can find the link to the meeting in last week's weekly update, where there is also a form to fill out if you wish to give feedback online.
Let's put delight on our to-do list today. After all, there is not enough time in this life for all of this beauty. For spring that is here and then gone, for red buds on brown trees suddenly everywhere, for singing together out loud and in public, for noticing of life and death, this paying attention in this moment, and for this chance to begin again, we are gathered, and it is good. Our introit this morning is Mystery by Jeremy R. Geffen, arranged by Jim Scott. Kelly Rice and the Sanctuary Choir will sing Will Loesch on electric bass.
It's the sound in the soul of one becoming free. And it lives in the laughter of children at play, and in the blazing sun that gives life to the day. It moves the planets and the stars in the sky. It's been the mover of mountains since the beginning of time. Oh, mystery, you're alive. I feel you all around. You are the fire in my heart. You are the holy sound. You are all life, and it is to you that I sing. Oh, grant that I may feel you always in everything. Oh, grant that I may feel you always in everything. And it lives in the waves as they crash upon the beach. I've seen it in the gods that men have tried to reach. I've seen it in the love that I know we need so much. I know it in your smile, my love, when our hearts touch. And when I listen deep inside, I feel you most of all, like a moon that's growing wider. And I listen to your call, and I know that you will guide me. I feel you like the tide rushing through the oceans of my heart that's open wide. Oh, mystery, you are alive. I feel you all around. You are the fire in my heart. You are the holy sound. You are all life, and it is to you that I sing. Oh, grant that I may feel you always in everything. Oh, grant that I may feel you always in everything. Oh, grant that I may feel you always in
As we celebrate Earth Day, And the coming of spring, let us light our chalice and enjoy a favorite excerpt from Algernon Swinburne's The Seasons. For winter's rains and ruins are over, and all the season of snows and sins, the days dividing lover and lover, the light that loses, the night that wins, and time remembered its grief forgotten, and frosts are slain, and flowers begotten, and in green underwood and cover, blossom by blossom, the spring begins. Please stand and speak together the words of our affirmation of faith, that we may be reminded of our covenant one to another. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. You may be seated.
The time for all ages. The story this morning is called Outside In. It's by Deborah Underwood, and we'll watch it on the screen here and on your screens in other places as well. And then following that, I have a bit of Earth homework for everybody.
Story is Outside In by Deborah Underwood, illustrated by Cindy Derby. Once we were part of outside, and outside was part of us. There was nothing between us. Now sometimes even when we're outside, we're inside. We forget outside is there. So outside reminds us with flashes at the window and slow magic tricks. It sends the sunset and shadows inside to play. Outside sings to us with chirps and rustles and tap-taps on the roof. It beckons with smells, sun-baked, fresh, and mysterious. Outside feeds us. Sun, rain, and seeds become warm bread and berries. Outside cuddles us in clothes, once puffs of cotton. It holds us in wooden chairs, once trees. We feel outside in the warm weight of our cats and the rough fur of our dogs. Outside shows us there is a time to rest and a time to start fresh. Outside steals inside. A spider seeking shelter, a box elder bug in the bath, a tiny snail on kale. Even rivers come inside, cool water rushing, eager to return to the sea. I'm here, outside says. I miss you. Outside waits. And we answer. Thanks for watching Storytime with Miss Rose. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell for more videos.
Our service today is focused on the fact that we aren't going out into nature. We are nature. Yes, we are nature. We're part of this great web. So I'm hoping that everyone will go out in the next day or two and to celebrate Earth Day, to remind ourselves that we're part of it, to find a tree near where you live and sit under it and be quiet for a while and just listen, or open your eyes and look and see what grows around it, what might be living in its branches, bird song, listen to the bird song. And then when you go inside again, maybe you could go on the internet and learn about that tree, find out what kind of tree it is, and learn about what sustains it and what it sustains. And remind ourselves of our gratitude for this beautiful earth upon which we too grow. We're going to sing the opening hymn, and I'll invite the children and their teachers to go to their classes during the final verse. All things bright and beautiful.
I invite Steve Schick from the Climate Action Team to come up and do this morning's Moment for Mission.
Good morning. Good morning. Whoops, went the wrong way. There we go. There we are. Celebrating Earth, celebrating life, being part of it all, and reminding ourselves we are part of it all. The music, the mystery, the awe and the wonder is all part of it. 33 years ago, Joanne and I moved to Lexington, and we moved to a dead-end street that abutted conservation land and abutted a half acre of woods, and there we invited nature in. Then something happened this past August. That lot was deemed unbuildable, became buildable, and it began to be cleared. 50 trees, huge carbon-emitting machines for months now have cleared that to build a house. In Scotland, there was a study a few years back. The study said if you built a small cottage with 2 rooms, 2 bedrooms, the carbon footprint for that cottage would be 80 tons of carbon. If you refitted the house, it would only be 8. 80 tons of carbon, and this is just how we do things. How we do things, and that's only in one little sector. Then there's transportation, and then there is industry, and then there is agriculture. All huge, huge carbon footprints. So, 2 years ago, we all decided we wanted to declare a climate emergency. And the Climate Action Team has been asking you for these years, and you've responded, to make a pledge of what you're going to do, to join us in legislative actions like the UMass Advocacy Day 2 weeks ago, to talk to our legislators, to join other efforts to have it like, for example, the Clean Lexington of a few weeks ago. We voted not to have those carbon machines cleaning our area, cleaning our gardens and lawns. And we also have asked you to join us in the 11th hour to declare an armistice, as it were, against our war against nature. So today we simply ask you to make a pledge. And in the coffee hour, Bob and other members of our team will have a sign-up sheet. A couple years ago when we did this, we had 100 people or so sign a pledge on what they were going to do. This week, one thing: educate yourself, do an action, and by all means, join us, join us. Our denomination is doing it also through the UU Ministry for Earth. And we're delighted that your first action could be to make a generous pledge or a generous gift today to them in our offertory. Done.
Thank you, Steve. Very important. This is the time in our service when we have the opportunity to make real our support of this church and its mission by our offerings. For those online, please aim your camera to the QR code on your screen. For those in the sanctuary, the plate will be passed. Please be as generous as you feel able. The offertory this morning is Spark of Creation by Stephen Schwartz from Children of Eden, sung by Sarah Butel of our children's choir with Will Losh on electric bass.
I've got an itching on the tips of my fingers. I got a boiling in the back of my brain. I've got a hunger burning inside me, cannot be denied. I got a feeling that the Father who made us, when he was kindling the pulse in my veins, he left a tiny spark of that fire smoldering inside. The spark of creation is flickering within me. The spark of creation is blazing in my blood. A bit of that fire that lit up the stars and breathed life into the mud. The first inspiration, the spark of creation. I see a mountain pleasures, perfect day the same, and this vacation. Well, that's alright if you're a kind of crustacean, but when you're more than imagination, sooner or later you're feeling the fire get hotter and higher. The spark of creation.
The reading this morning is a video reading, and the words are from a poem called Singularity by Maria Howe.
Do you sometimes want to wake up to the singularity we once were? So compact, nobody needed a bed, or food, or money. Nobody hiding in the school bathroom, or home alone, pulling open the drawer where the pills are kept. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you, remember? There was no nature, no them, no tests to determine if the elephant grieves her calf, or if the coral reef feels pain. Trashed oceans don't speak English or Farsi or French. Would that we could wake up to what we were when we were ocean. And before that, when earth was sky, and animal was energy, and rock was liquid, and stars were space, and space was not at all, nothing. Before we came to believe humans were so important. Before this awful loneliness. Can molecules remember it? What once was, before anything happened? Can our molecules remember? No I, no we, no one, no was, no verb, no noun yet, but only a tiny, 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 tiny dot brimming with is, all, everything, home. Thank you.
Marie Howe, in her poem, Singularity, "This awful loneliness," she writes, "this awful loneliness, as we have become in our collective mind's eyes separate from what is all else, of which we are a fortunate part, a blessed part. Separate from the fact that it is a darn miracle that we exist at all. Estranged from the community of all living things. We have still, but maybe barely, a small memory of the simple and profound fact that the inside and the outside are linked, that the relationships between life forms continually create a large and diverse and breathtaking life fabric, for which I believe we yearn and are lonely for. We have forgotten, and the earth, which is us, too, has suffered. This is a sermon about remembering as a path to a healing of this loneliness that longs for life lived in communion with, in delight of, in compassion for, in solidarity with Gaia, this spinning green ball of life. Maybe this path an antidote as we try to fill the void with things, with fear, with separations, with war, with angst, with power. We are, though, not satisfied. We seek more. We are more. The earth, and mostly trees, and their lives within forests, will be our teachers this morning. Teaching us this morning about what we need to go back home, to realize that we are already home. 5 lessons toward our reconciliation with life and ultimately with survival and hopefully with thriving. Number 1 lesson, breathe a moment with me. Just breathe. And recognize, remember, that all life arises from singularity into cellular variations. So we share DNA with all life forms. 44% of our DNA we share with bumblebees. 40% with bananas. 70% with slugs. 25% with daffodils. And 50% with trees. Lesson 1 in our reconciliation with our basic nature. We come home when we are aware that our relatives are everywhere. How can we not be amazed? 2, trees teach that life's purpose is sustaining life's thriving, all life, in the forest. What is underground in a forest teaches us that there is almost a sentient nature to trees and their relationships with one another and the other beings of the forest. I read a book called Finding the Mother Tree, which is a book about, many of you have read, I see you nodding, or know about, what we're learning about how trees communicate. Forests are linked by underground fungi, which are their channels of communication. This fungus network connects the entire forest, and this network has similar patterns to the human brain, our neural pathways. In this network, older and younger trees are perceiving, communicating, and responding to one another by emitting chemical signals. These chemicals are shockingly similar to the neurotransmitter chemicals in human brains. The older trees are able to discern which seedlings are their own kin. These elders nurture the young ones and provide them with food and water just as humans do with their children. But let me tell you about mother trees, named by Suzanne Simard in the book I mentioned, Finding the Mother Tree. She's the one also who discovered the fungi channels in forests. So mother trees, and perhaps we Unitarian Universalists would name them parent trees, But mother trees are the biggest, oldest trees in the forest. They are the glue that holds the forest together. They have the genes from previous climates. They are homes to so many creatures, so much biodiversity. And through their huge photosynthetic capacity, they provide food for the whole soil web of life. They keep carbon in the soil and above ground, and they keep the water flowing. These ancient trees help forests recover from disturbances. Mother trees are the majestic hubs at the center of forest communication, forest protection. As they die, mother trees pass their wisdom to their kin, generation after generation, sharing knowledge, if you will, of what helps and what harms, who is friend or foe, and how to adapt and survive. As these trees die, these older trees, they send what nutrients they have to the youngers. So the second tree lesson, parent trees, the elders, live to nurture the youngers, or as some indigenous people have taught, they live for the seventh generation beyond them. 3, while there is competition in creation's web, think only of the food chain, there is far more consistent reality there that is cooperation. Trees need to be near one another to establish receptive soil, to join together to build the ecosystem, mix with other species, relate in patterns that create a wood-wide web, because the forest becomes resilient from these interactions. And cooperating diversity brings strength and survival. Here's an aside. Not so much an aside, it's just that I heard it on NPR this week from a woman who's involved in queer ecology from the perspective of GLBTQ people and their allies. She talked about penguins, these tuxedoed critters that are the focus of many children's movies, and which we've watched documentaries on about how they mate for life and nurture their eggs and so forth. She said that the religious right has taken on penguins as a symbol of heterosexuality as normal. And she talked about the use of the word normal and abnormal and how it's used to create false narratives, false hierarchies about nature and beings. Surprised, not so surprised to find out that there are pairs of penguins in same-sex relationships for life, and even a pair, and probably more, but one we know about in a Washington zoo that nurtured and fostered, adopted an egg and raised the resultant penguin baby. Understanding the true narrative of nature, which we know naturally, brings us to understand how hierarchy and other narratives have been used to harm what is natural and what in its diversity strengthens life. Diversity, listen to this, trees need, we know, carbon. Seasons affect the way carbon flows to trees, and different species of trees need carbon at different times in larger or smaller amounts. So it's not just their own kin that trees care about when it comes to carbon. In the summer, birch sends more carbon to Douglas fir. And the Douglas fir in the spring and fall sends more carbon to birches. This trading system between these two species, shifting with the seasons, suggests that the trees have a sophisticated exchange pattern for their mutual survival. Birch and fir support one another's thriving. So 3, cooperating diversity brings strength and survival. And 4, forests, no surprise to anyone, have a healing effect on all lives, including ours, maybe especially ours. Now, science affirms that the healing nature of the natural is verifiable. Study after study reveals this. A study in Paoli, Pennsylvania, found that gallbladder patients whose rooms faced trees recovered a day sooner and with less pain and complication than those whose rooms looked out onto a brick wall. Patients who gazed out onto a natural scene were 4 times better off. Says something about how we build our places of healing. Turns out we are spending 50% less time outside than 20 years ago. And here is what we miss by doing so. Nature clears our heads and lowers levels of brooding and worry. Unplugging from technology makes us more creative. People who took a certain test called the remote associative test, which measures creativity, before and after they spent 4 days in nature without technological devices, increased their creativity by 50%. Attention and focus are proven to increase with a walk in the woods. Memory and recall improve with nature's healing help. The more time we spend in the woods, science tells us, the more we esteem ourselves. Now, a walk in a cityscape does not have the same effect. The difference in the two is how they draw our attention. Cityscapes draw our attention to specific things and tasks, which activates a part of the brain that says, look, see over there, and now over there. It is mentally tiring, exciting too, but quite different than the forest, the woods, the beach, the lake. Being in the natural, non-human-made setting draws our attention to the larger picture in a way that rests the busy mind. The Japanese have a natural therapy called Shinrin-yoku. Sounds better in Japanese than in English, forest bathing. It requires that patients, this is prescribed by doctors for patients, to walk for extended periods of time in forested areas. Germany also has a similar medical treatment. These aren't just cultural quirks. People who bathe in the forest have lower blood pressure, lower pulse rates, lower cortisol, less depression, more hope. The work that is calling us for the healing of the planet, it seems to me, will have to be done by people who know how to slow down and detach from busyness and consumption and heal ourselves as part of that process. And 5, the 5th lesson from trees and forests, cooperating communities are where life can best sustain itself. I read that the largest living organism on the planet is in Utah, and it's a stand of aspen trees with a root system that is mighty, that lives in a larger space than any other living organism on Earth. And these trees, rooted together in communities, live for the purpose of the health of the whole of the forest. When one tree in the stand is sick, Healthy trees, sometimes far away, far, far away, send food and water through the rooted dendrites. Fifth tree lesson. We need to understand and live in communities to learn how to sustain our planet Earth. When I was 7 years old, I went away to a Lutheran camp called Camp Moana in southern Ohio. I loved it. The stories by the campfire, swimming, hiking, the talent show. But it's interesting that the two most persistent memories are a study in contradiction. The first was the daily times of solitude out in nature. We were required, even 7-year-olds, to go out into nature and sit under a tree, and we were asked to be quiet and to listen, to pay attention to our breath, and this was a long time ago, and to close our eyes or to open them and just notice what's around us. I can still feel the amazement I experienced and the peace. Paradise, really. The other memory that sticks with me, it might be because of the jokes of my family through the years, is that I received there an increasing red rash that eventually covered my entire body, poison ivy, even closed my eyes to slits. My parents said they laughed coming home as my slitted-eyed self sang all the camp songs to them. A big reaction I had, and that was quite miserable in paradise, to be honest. There was within these two experiences, I think, a spiritual wisdom, one that I was not able to put into words until much later. A wisdom about the location of paradise. Where is paradise? My cousin Shannon and I once rode our bikes to an area we were not supposed to go in, searching for paradise. Where is it? Is it somewhere in the future that is to be achieved? Do we enter it after we die if we are good enough? Easter having just passed, we know that much of Christianity pays attention to the death of Jesus and his resurrection on Easter, understanding that to be that he died for human sin and therefore belief in him brings eternal life. But it's interesting. The Christian tradition did not put the cross, the crucifixion, and the resurrection at the center of its faith for 1,000 years after Jesus died. That you may know Christian art, that first 1,000 years, mostly showed the earth as paradise. Beautiful, beautiful paintings and frescoes of trees and animals and humans in that paradise. Hebrew scripture tells the genesis of creation as a hierarchy where humans, actually men, are at the top. Given dominion over the earth, so says Genesis. These ideas are still very much with us, embedded in systems, and they have done great harm to the truth of existence, the truth that the forest teaches. Paradise is right this moment, and it is not all sweetness and light. It is life, the miracle that it even exists, and it is full of challenge, exquisite beauty, birth and death, the illumination of light, the seed time of the dark, the peace of sitting under the mother tree as a 7-year-old and simply listening and wondering, and the discomfort of the ivy that the ivy would future bring. All of it, life as it is, paradise. Already present, we have neither to retrieve it or construct it. We only have to perceive it and to bring our lives and our cultures into accord with it. We have the power to shift the course. What we need now is a spiritual perspective that does not locate salvation in a future endpoint, in a transcendent realm, or a zone after death. A paradise which is not withheld, closed, or removed from us based on our behavior. Realizing this requires us to let go of the notion that paradise is a life without struggle, a life free from wrestling with legacies of injustice and current forces of evil. Assuredly, we are in a world in which the struggle continues. However, it is also true that we are already on and have always been on holy ground. Our spiritual challenge is to embrace this reality. Histories of harm are all around us. Forces of evil operate within and among us, and yet everywhere. The Spirit rises in the wind. The rivers of paradise circle the earth. The trees teach, and the fountain of wisdom springs up from the earth we tread, from this holy ground. I've begun to think that our human mother trees are indigenous people who have so much to teach about the true narrative of how thriving and surviving on earth happens, will happen. In my semi-retirement, I'm trying to memorize poems, and this was the first one, although I'm not going to read it from memory here today. But it's by Wendell Berry, and he is, as you know, many of you, a Kentucky farmer and a poet, essayist, and an activist. It's called I Go Among Trees. I go among trees and sit still. All my stirring becomes quiet around me like circles on water. My tasks lie in their places where I left them, asleep like cattle. Then what is afraid of me comes and lives a while in my sight. What it fears in me leaves me, and the fear of me leaves it. It sings, and I hear its song. Then what I am afraid of comes, and I live a while in its sight. And what I fear in it leaves it, and the fear of it leaves me. It sings, and I hear its song. After days of labor, mute in my consternations, I hear my song at last, and I sing it. As we sing, the day turns, the trees move. So let us all celebrate in some way with our loved ones, with our kith and kin, by finding a tree and simply being with it, and learning about it, and starting a new pattern of the outside and the inside being one. Amen. Our anthem this morning is Because of You, written by Rip Jackson in his Beatitudes, a journey of compassion, justice, and love triumphant. Jamie Willis singing, the Sanctuary Choir, Will Loesch on electric bass, Omar Kadari and Ruth Rose percussion.
Because of you.
Thank you so much. So, now we honor our common bonds as human beings, each with our struggles, griefs, and sorrows, each with joys and celebrations and delights. And I have those in the sanctuary can come up to the mic to share if you have one. Also, if you wish not to walk up to the mic, Rip will come with the mic and you can stay in your seat and share something. And let me read the two from the virtual world. From Meg Newhouse to everyone, she is joyfully with her son and his family, including wonderful granddaughters Cece and Sasha. And her other granddaughter turns 21 today. And Judy Cole to everyone, with joy that heaven is under our feet as well as above our heads. A favorite quote by Thoreau. A favorite quote by Thoreau, with joy that heaven is under our feet as well as above our heads. And I'll celebrate my son's 32nd birthday in a few days. Would anyone share in the sanctuary here this morning? A sorrow, a grief, that we may make our bonds in these very human expressions and sharings.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Debbie Weiner Soule, rarely seen but always with you. And I want to share all of the insanity and joy that April brings to our family, and particularly to lift up the birthday of our daughter Emily earlier this month, our 30th wedding anniversary this month, out of that happened, and the upcoming birthday of my beloved Ben in just a few days. It's beautiful to be with you.
Hi, I'm Julie, and I haven't been able to be here in person too much, but I've listened to all on YouTube. I broke my back, so I'm recovering. But I'd just like to share that when I was 5, a little boy and I got into a well. We tied ropes around a tree. Unfortunately, his didn't hold and he died, but I'm here and mine did hold. And trees were just always my friend. And when I bought my house in Lexington in 1984, I planted 100 trees in my yard. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Tish Kalman, and I'm proud to be a tree hugger. I love to go in the woods, and I actually hug the trees. The joy that I want to share is that my grandson, Xavier, turns 9 today, and they're in Corvallis, Oregon, but I look forward to a Zoom call this afternoon. They grow up so fast.
Hi, I'm Larry Roop. I just want to share that, Kathleen, you've brought such joy and love to our congregation, and it's really, you've just fallen out of heaven for us in this time of ends, taking a breather, and I just can't thank you enough. Yeah.
It seems like the right place to say, even though it's out of order, that, yeah, my time here is coming to an end, but that's what happens in paradise all the time. Things come to an end, and I have been nothing but honored and challenged, and I just honor the giving and receiving that happens here all the time and that has happened here in my time here. And wish you well upon your journey in this paradise and in your community. Any more joys or sorrows this morning? Then let us pray together. We call upon the living universe to witness all that is life, to embrace our joys, our struggles, our grieving, our loving. We call upon all creatures around us to bring forth joy in us. We seek a renewed stirring of life for the earth. We urge that all people now determine that these generations do have love for the next and the next. We pray to show more love to those generations now living as well. Amen. Our closing hymn is All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. Please rise as you're able.
Alleluia.
I wanted to have, please be seated a moment. I know we're running over time, but this clock says 10:35. So we're good. I wanted to have the benediction be our singing together of Spirit of Life. And I once did here when I first came the American Sign Language movements, and I'll teach them quickly one more time, and those who wish to can do the movements as we sing. So the movements are, most of them anyway, Spirit. Spirit is, life is an L, starting down here and growing up. Spirit of life. Come unto me. Sing. Sing is like you're conducting. Sing in my heart. Make a heart over your left side. All the stirrings of compassion is like you're stroking with two fingers together. All the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, easy. Rise in the sea, so it's rise and then the sea is waves. Move, you're moving one thing here to there. In the hand, just make an outline of the hand. Move in the hand. Giving life, again, the shape of justice. Roots, make a pot and roots. Hold, meet close. So roots, hold me close. Wings, start out with the W from your shoulders. Wings, set me free. Oh, cross here actually, and then free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. If you want to stand as you're able, please do. And this is our benediction. For indulging me. Our postlude is Mighty Oaks by Rip Jackson, composed by Rip for this congregation in 2016, Rip Jackson on piano.
Thank you, Rip. I am Tim Jacoby. I'm the board chair. I'm joined here with Debbie Armstrong, board member also, and we're not going to let Reverend Kathleen get away with just Larry's thanks. So come up here. Come up here right now. Give me a hug. I hope you can hear me. Debbie has a plan and a card signed by all the board members.
And the staff.
And, yes. And I thought what I would do is read a motion that was carried unanimously with loud applause at the board meeting earlier this month. Reverend Kathleen's already heard this.
No abstentions.
No abstentions, no nays. Whereas First Parish in Lexington has been graced with the presence of Reverend Kathleen Hepler during Reverend Ann's sabbatical. Whereas Reverend Kathleen has had the powerful impact on our congregation in her short time with us, shares stories, many personal and quite moving, allowing us to get to know each other better, shared her perspectives on many matters from her years in ministry, shared her inspiring vision for the future of the church, particularly First Parish Lexington, has helped us define how best to staff our team to pursue that vision. Therefore, it is resolved that we thank you from the bottom of our hearts and wish you well in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Hear, hear.
And there will be cake and coffee after the service is over. But before that, the choir has a piece that we'd like to sing for Kathleen. Yes,
Oh, yes,
please.
definitely.
Please come down.
I just wanted to second how amazing it's been to work with Reverend Kathleen. And this piece we're singing for her is a Gaelic blessing to wish her on her way. And it's by John Rudder.
Thank you for joining us for worship today, a very special morning. We now invite you to join us for social hour. Those people on Zoom wishing to socialize may stay in the meeting online, and those here in person may gather in the parish hall. Thank you for attending. Have a good week.